Hello and welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ+ daily evening television news, broadcasting live and available on demand on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, YouTube, and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. It is Thursday, July 20th, 2023, and we are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we are going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
I'm out South Florida senior reporter John Hayden. Al has the night off. This evening, we bring you the news of and perspective representing the LGBTQ+ community from South Florida, America, and across the planet.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ+ evening news show. Whatever happens, unique in LGBTQ+ news, you will see it and hear it.
Hotspots Magazine Happening Out Television Network is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ+ community. Our mission is to support the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ+ community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of our Black community, Latino, lesbians and queer women, trans, students and youth, seniors, HIV/AIDS, healthcare, business, social justice, and faith. Help us support our community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ+ media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network. Our magazine is celebrating 38 years of the LGBTQ+ experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ+ and broader community.
Let's welcome anchor Bob Hentschel. He is a professional accountant and is on the committee of My Hollywood Pride. He is a member of multiple gay Disney Facebook groups, including the Gay Days Monorail Pub Crawl. Good evening, Bob.
Good evening. In the gay agenda, Women of Wilton debut with Last Summer at Bluefish Cove, July 27th. Women of Wilton, the recent offshoot of Ronnie Larson's Plays of Wilton Theater Company, is ready to make its debut on the Foundry stage in Wilton Manors on July 27th through August 20th with Last Summer at Bluefish Cove by Jane Chambers. Written for the first Gay American Arts Festival in 1980, the play is affectionately referred to as The Girls in the Sand, a female counterpoint to Mark Crowley's hit 1968 play, The Boys in the Band. The drama is widely regarded as the first mainstream play about lesbians. Tickets and showtimes are available at womenofwilton.com.
Let's welcome anchor Dr. Bobby Huen. He is a certified civil and family mediator and a founder of BH Conflict Resolution Services. Having grown up around the world, he can offer a global perspective on current events. Welcome, Bobby.
Thank you, John. And in the gay agenda, Smart Ride Car Wash fundraiser for Team Gear Grindrs, July 23rd. Smart Ride Car Wash fundraiser for Team Gear Grindrs will be held from noon to 4 p.m. on July 23rd at Litz Wilton Manors. The fundraiser will be organized by Team Gear Grindrs to benefit HIV/AIDS supporting agencies. The suggested donation for the fundraiser will be $15. The Southernmost HIV/AIDS Ride, aka the Smart Ride, started with a vision of giving back 100% of every dollar its participation raised to AIDS service organizations throughout Florida. Smart Ride is now the second largest AIDS bicycle ride in the country, and the only one of its size to give back 100%.
Let's welcome anchor Gregg Shapiro. An inductee into the Chicago LGBT Hall of Fame, Gregg is the author of 9 books. His entertainment coverage, including celebrity interviews, runs in a variety of print and online publications. Welcome, Gregg.
Well, hello there. In the gay agenda, Wednesday Night Pros Club featuring Neil Plakcy, September 13th. Wednesday Night Pros Club featuring Neil Plakcy will be held at Aperitivo at Bona Italian Restaurant on September 13th at 7:30 p.m. Bona is your local home for classic American Italian cuisine. I am your host for the evening. Neil Plakcy will be reading his new book, The Virgin Homicides, at the event. The WNPC meets at Bona on the second Wednesday of every month. Come early and order dinner and a beverage to enjoy during our reading. And happy National Lollipop Day. You get a lollipop. And you get a lollipop.
Yay.
And you get a lollipop.
Yay.
Thank you, Greg. Although I have to say,
Lolly, lolly, get your adverbs here. Oh.
I gotta say, this sucks. Greater Fort Lauderdale welcomes visitors of all abilities to enjoy 31 vibrant communities and works to remove barriers to provide a quality experience for all, including people with visible and invisible disabilities. Accessible tourism is not only about human rights, but also an opportunity to educate and embrace all visitors. This is something Greater Fort Lauderdale does well. We embrace all visitors with wide open, welcoming arms. Visit Lauderdale. Everyone under the sun. Well, let's begin tonight by queering up breaking news. Drag ban injunction not limited to just Hamburger Mary's, federal judge rules. A federal judge won't limit his previous ruling that temporarily blocks a Florida law he determined violates the constitutional rights of drag performers. U.S. District Judge Gregory Presnell denied a motion asking the injunction only apply to the plaintiff, Hamburger Mary's in downtown Orlando. At issue is a new Florida law that contains penalties for any venue allowing children into a sexually explicit adult live performance. The law includes potential penalties for first-degree misdemeanor charges for violators. In May, Hamburger Mary's filed a lawsuit against Governor Ron DeSantis, the state of Florida, and Melanie Griffin, Secretary of the Department of Business and Professional Regulation. People have already been acting like this applies to everyone, because I did a story in Out South Florida a week or so ago about our local Hamburger Mary's in Wilton Manors having its front doors wide open and you can see the drag queens doing their show. So we've been kind of acting like it. This is nice to confirm it, though, because there is the fascist Republican leadership in Tallahassee passed a ban on gender-affirming care, and that was suspended a few weeks ago, but only for the three young people, the three plaintiffs that were mentioned in the suit. So this is an affirmation that this is going to go forward, and it's a good sign that the judge believes that that the plaintiffs, Hamburger Mary's Orlando, will be victorious in the lawsuit.
I mean, the ruling makes it pretty clear. It's, it's a blatant violation of First Amendment rights of any performer. I mean, you can't just, the state has no rights, or rather the state cannot have the authority to just slap a label called adult entertainment on anything they don't like. They have to actually justify why this is adult entertainment and why this is age restricted. Right. You can't just, a drag queen reading a storybook is simply not adult performance.
No. And in Presnell's own words, the ban, quote, has a chilling effect on all members of society who fall within its reach, end quote. So very well said.
Yes.
Will this apply to Don't Say Gay? Because that's the one I want to see fall. I'm glad the other ones are going down, but it's like...
Education-wise, I think there are certain limits to First Amendment where education lies. For example, you cannot... the problem here is that whether you can force a teacher to not say certain things. And if it is a religious school, yes, it can, because religious school teachers are considered ministers. But on the other hand, can you force public school teachers to shut up, or public school students to shut up?
And while in our world, there's a lot of overlap in that Venn diagram. It is technically a different issue and a different set of criteria. And when I think it's already being challenged, but also most likely a different federal judge. So, while a judge has lifted the trans ban treatment plan for at least 3 kids here, Tennessee has a different judge that's allowing their gender-affirming care ban to move forward. All of these are eventually going to funnel their way up to at least a couple of different appeals court circuits. One or more of these are going to end up in front of the Supreme Court.
Generally, if the appeals courts cannot agree, if one rules one thing, the other rules for another, then it pretty much is a straight shot to SCOTUS.
Yes.
That's generally.
All right, well, we continue and we queer up politics. Democratic PAC ad shows creepy Republicans moving into private bedrooms.
Do you have a condom?
Yeah. Sorry, you can't use those.
What are you talking about? Who are you?
I'm your Republican congressman. Now that we're in charge, we're banning birth control.
This is our decision, not yours. Get out of our bedroom.
I won the last election. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to watch and make sure you don't do anything illegal.
Progressive Action Fund launched a new ad attacking crackdowns on reproductive rights ahead of an Ohio ballot measure. The ad features an elderly Republican congressman in the couple's bedroom. The ad urges voters to vote no on State Issue 1 in the August 8th vote. If passed, the measure would replace a simple majority requirement and require all amendments to the state constitution to be approved by 60% of voters. The argument for Issue 1 is it protects the Ohio Constitution from out-of-state interests. Critics argue it takes away freedom by undermining the sacred principle of one person, one vote, and destroys majority rule in Ohio. Several people have said the amendment is all about preventing abortion access. Ohio Secretary of State Frank LaRose stated, quote, "Well, you know what? I'm pro-life. I think many of you are as well. This is 100% about keeping a radical pro-abortion amendment out of our Constitution. The left wants to jam it in there this coming November." Now, Florida already has this, by the way. I think it was in 2006 we put in a supermajority. And of course, the U.S. of 60%, the U.S. Constitution has an incredibly even higher bar to amend the Constitution. So from one perspective, it makes sense. Because at one time, Florida was having, pig farm, like minute pig farm details written into the Constitution because all it took was 51%. So I get that. But this is, and admittedly, openly, blatantly moving the goalposts. And the thing is, their Secretary of State knows what's coming. Because last year, after the Dobbs decision, the one that repealed Roe, Kentucky held a vote that affirmed the right. Kansas had a vote. Kansas, they're not the most liberal state in the country. They had a vote that says we want to keep this. As soon as the votes were counted, legislators were saying, well, we'll see about that. So they're not listening to the will of the people. Most people respect a woman's right to choose. Most people say this is not necessary. This is a last-ditch attempt in Ohio to move the goalposts so that they can continue to shove their agenda down our throats on the ballot. And the thing is, it'll probably pass, because who votes on August 8th? They're going to have a good chance of getting trying to get people to the polls on an off-year election in November, much less August 8th. So I don't like where this is heading.
I think there's a good chance of this not passing. I think you underestimate the motivation of motivated women.
Angry.
They're angry. They're going out to vote. They are. I mean, I hope so. Anyway, I mean, if that's their rights at risk, and I think if the husbands who vote for this, they should basically have a sex strike against them. No more sex until you vote the right way.
Yeah, only women should be voting on this.
I think they did this ad right, though. Okay. It's a white couple, because we still are racist in this country. It was a condom. Shout out to Safer Sex, number one. But number two, generally, it's on the man. And they did not use birth control pills because I'm not going to finish that thought.
Yes.
But anyway, because we as a country love to slut shame women, which is disgusting.
Yes.
You know, what I want to see even further is, you know, and bring the receipts when you do this, okay? We already know Republicans hate our troops. See Tommy Tuberville. There's plenty of receipts for them hating America, but, you know, that they're, I mean, the list can go on and on and on, but this ad is perfect because it's going to motivate people.
It's a little handmaid's tale too. In my humble opinion, birth control, including but not limited to abortion, is a necessary part of slowing and possibly reversing the effects of climate change. So if they want their precious grandchildren and their children's children to live on a planet where they can live, use a condom and save the planet.
And shout out to that actor. The Republican congressman.
Perfectly.
He was so creepily.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like this flat delivery. I mean, this ad has gone viral, which is always a good thing because that means that people are going to see it. Doesn't matter if they have a television or not.
Yes.
Right. Well, next, let's queer up LGBTQ plus civil rights. Last-minute GOP amendment spending bill strips LGBTQ plus centers of funding. In what lawmakers call an unprecedented move, House Republicans introduced and moved a last-minute amendment stripping 3 community projects of funding as part of a committee markup for the 2024 Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development Spending Bill. Of the 2,680 projects previously approved, these 3 all serve the LGBTQ plus community. The ranking member of the committee, Connecticut Democratic Representative Rosa DeLauro, called the GOP move one of terrorists. The Republican-led House Committee on Appropriations took up and passed a last-minute amendment to remove funding for 3 community centers serving LGBTQ plus seniors in Massachusetts and Pennsylvania. LGBTQ plus Senior Housing, Inc., William Way LGBT Center, and LGBT Center of Greater Reading were all stripped of funds. Illinois Representative Mike Quigley said the projects make up 0.1% of the funds requested. Representative Brendan Boyle, whose Philadelphia area project was defunded, says he and many of his colleagues suspect Republicans just search for the word LGBTQ plus to see which projects to target. Democrats point out that these projects pass muster and review, and their only problem is including that acronym in their name. Florida Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz said that in 18 years, she has never witnessed members strip funds from another member's project in this way on the Appropriations Committee. Well, first off, do we love Rosa DeLauro? Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
And since she's from that neck of the woods, I have to say, we love her. We love her.
Yes.
But I would love to be able to channel my inner Julia Sugarbaker about them stripping funds from LGBTQ plus seniors. And I'm a hell of a lot closer to being in that age group than I care to admit. But, this points to why we need to vote Democratic, because the Republicans have it out for us. They have always had it out for us. They have had it out for us since the 80s with Reagan and 83,000 dead of AIDS before he even muttered the words. Maybe I didn't channel my inner Julia Sugarbaker.
Well, it just goes to show that the bigotry and the hatred of Republicans simply knows no limit, no bounds at all. Yeah. And also, thank you to old Mother Reagan, who set this set us on this course. It all goes back to him.
And this is just petty. I mean, this is based. I think the budgets, these veto budgets, were like in the tens of thousands, not even hundreds of thousands. So we are literally just picking. I mean, I think I think Boyle is right. I think they literally just use Control F, find LGBTQ, find the instances, and just scratch it. Yeah, because I mean, it could. I bet that there's more LGBTQ budget, centers included in the budget. They just didn't see it because it wasn't named that way.
And it's also just one bill of like 13 spending bills that need to be passed. And I'll tell you, this story makes me very nervous, and I'll tell you why. Because the Republicans in the House have pushed through a lot of amendments that are never going to make it out of the Senate. No, they'll make it out of committee, and they'll probably make it out of the House. But the Senate will kill them, and they probably won't meet when they go to their joint conference to hammer out a final version, like abortion limits and things like that. Here's what scares me about this, is that these are three, as you pointed out, very small projects, and they could fall through the cracks. Because they're very small. They're in three very safe districts. They don't really. This isn't a hill for politicians to die on, even if they're leaving. Even if they're leaving the rest of seniors to die on.
I'm from Pennsylvania, and Reading tends to go Republican to begin with. I'm just saying.
Okay. But in the recent redistricting and all that, I think that district is a little safer than it has been. Kind of like how Orlando is safe, but they pull out a piece of Orlando and then attach it to the redneck suburb or the red drawn suburbs outside of it.
Right.
Well, all right, next, let's queer up health. Conservative states increase surveillance of people traveling for abortions or gender-affirming care. According to a new report, patients seeking out-of-state abortions and gender-affirming care are at risk of increased surveillance from law enforcement. The Surveillance Technology Oversight Project, also known as STOP, released a report detailing the elevated dangers for patients who travel for abortions or gender-affirming care. STOP Executive Director Albert Fox-Kahn said, quote, even as progressive states seek to protect abortion and gender-affirming care within their borders, anti-choice states are expanding the threats that they will prosecute residents who leave the states to find evidence-based medical treatment, end quote. Kahn emphasized that patients must understand how they can be tracked by law enforcement even when outside of the state. The report comes a little over a year after the Supreme Court struck down Roe v. Wade, which eliminated the 1973 precedent granting the constitutional right to abortion. The new Supreme Court decision let states limit or ban the procedure. Since then, several Republican-led states moved against the residents' rights to abortions. STOP Research Director Eleni Manis said that while there's no open road anymore, they're relatively safer travel methods. The report noted taking taxi rides would lower the risk in some cities that don't collect ridership data. I think it is time for blue states to basically says we are no longer cooperating with any of your law enforcement as long as these laws are in the books. Because, I mean, and also inform the companies. Basically, California need to pass a law that says that Uber and Lyft and any data collection agency cannot share the travel data of anyone within the borders of California to wherever. Just as long as they cannot see where they're going, they can prosecute.
I think we've officially entered the era of Big Brother is watching, and I'm not talking about the TV show.
No, I mean, it has been for a long time.
Well, let's talk about, I won't mention any names, but their initials are Facebook, that I could look up something on my home computer and all of a sudden it shows up on my phone. And it's like, delete Facebook. But a lot of this is as a result of just no regulation of this information that gets out there, and we don't know it's out there, and we're just, it's going to be a struggle to get back to the privacy guaranteed to us by the Constitution.
Regulation always comes after innovation because we don't know how to regulate if there's no innovation. So the problem here is that they're not physical objects like cars or planes or trains. They are ether. The data is ether. It just floats in the air. How do you regulate handling of that?
Well, next.
No. I'm sorry. I thought you had to come. I want to.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry. Before we move on here.
Yeah.
Yes. first off, don't rely on privacy. Everything, once you type in the last 4 digits of your social security to one person, you text it to everyone. Right. So this, to me, is a constitutional issue, the right to travel for whatever reason. If my dad in Indianapolis wants to travel up to Michigan, where recreational weed is legal, my dad, are we saying that Indiana could track him going 2 miles across the border and then arrest him, not being caught with it, but just for traveling to go get it and having it in Michigan? And I would hope that the answer would be no. Now, there's some data, and this came down, this is from a CNN article that was posted today on Thursday, that talks about the impact that forcing women to carry unviable pregnancies to term. These are women who a lot of them are people who don't want abortions. They want to have a child, but their child is going to be born either stillborn or is going to struggle to breathe for a few days, struggle to breathe, and there's nothing that these grieving parents can do about it.
The impact on the mothers.
Right. So apparently in Texas last year, 2,200 infants died, an increase of 227 deaths, or Texas is a big state, so we'll put it in proportion, 11.5%. So almost 1 in 8 pregnancies increased pregnancies over that time. Infant deaths caused by severe genetic and birth defects rose 21%. 21%. And these are folks, like I said, that want to have a baby, but they don't want to see their child suffer for an inevitability that is coming. Texas has banned abortions beyond the 6th week of pregnancy. So that's the impact. And so to say that these women are now going to be prosecuted for those that have the funds. Many of these people didn't have the funds to fly to New York or go over to New Mexico. These people are the ones that are suffering from this. And the idea that Texas can now follow them to put a GPS tracker in their uterus and say, no, you got to stay here or stay out of a blue state is reprehensible.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
No, the surveillance has just gone so out of control now with facial recognition, all that stuff. And also, there's a whiff of mainland China about this. And mainland China is notorious of sending undercover cops to America, to other European countries to survey and, arrest their dissidents, secretly, throw them into the car, fly them back out to China, and suddenly you're in the courtroom and you're sentenced to, get shot in the head. And, but, now that's a red state tactic now. It's the same thing. You just use cops and just follow them out to outer state, to outer areas that you're not in your bloody jurisdiction.
They've actually created a commercial or a little video, or I don't know what they call them anymore because I'm old. Did I mention I'm old? It was a mother taking her daughter clearly for an abortion, and they get pulled over by the cops. I don't know if I remember seeing it. I'd have to pull it up, and somebody could probably Google it and find it. But, this was the warning this was from last year. This was from last year. I remember seeing this, and now that
here we see it,
it's just getting out of control. And at some point, I want to know, when can we punch back? Because these are clearly punches at us.
For sure. Next, let's queer up business. Fox News guest and anti-trans activist falsely claims to have been Pride Center worker. The few but loud cadres of anti-trans rights activists have found a new spokesperson to denounce gender-affirming healthcare and condemn the advocates who counsel LGBTQ+ youth. We are talking about self-proclaimed former trans rights activist Kay Yang, whose recent interview with a Fox News digital reporter is getting clicks and spawning shares in right-wing media circles. In the online video, Yang claims to have been indoctrinated and exploited by New York City's lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community center, better known as the Center, where she repeatedly claimed she worked. Attempts to verify this have found the opposite. According to Yang, she was hired in 2011 to do LGBTQ+ outreach and education, and claims at that time they did not have any trans kids. She said her work was mostly focused on teenagers and young adults, and soon she realized what she was doing was grooming. But the Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Community Center of New York City has confirmed it has no record of someone named Kay Yang having worked with them. The interview posted by Yang is heavily edited, and Yang can be seen looking off screen several times, apparently glancing at notes as she repeats often utilized conservative talking points.
Why is this being done? Because there's a huge agenda about money behind this. These numbers, it's being attributed to, oh, well, the number is so high because children weren't safe to come out before, and we have better data collection now. But that's not why. In reality, these very high numbers are indicative of a widespread social engineering and indoctrination campaign. And the global market for sex reassignment is supposed to surpass $1.5 billion in 2026. Really concerned that our children are being told complete untruths about themselves and their bodies and the world around them, and that's setting them up for danger. And it's setting them up to internalize feelings of shame against their own body just for being a male or being a female. And I really think that all people, but especially children, should be taught to love and respect their body and grow to accept the body that they were born in, and whether that's a male or a female. And I'm very concerned that this ideology is grooming young girls to believe that they don't need sex-based rights anymore, and grooming them to promote this ideology, because that's what happened to me.
Notes, cue cards, perhaps, coaches. She's clearly speaking somebody else's words. And why does it come as no surprise that Yang, the former, the psycho, her employment at the community center can't be verified? Something tells me that that's not a surprise.
Because it was a bold-faced lie.
Right.
It was designed to. Remember, we just had the Colorado gay wedding invitation one. I mean,
manufactured,
Texas,
right?
Yeah, it was,
No, it's Colorado. Yeah.
The client was completely manufactured. He turns out to be a straight guy who was pro LGBTQ plus rights, and she just used his name as like someone who requested a gay wedding website, which he doesn't need because he's straight and married.
Right. Bottom line is they have to lie to make their case, and our mainstream media is constitutionally incapable of using the word lie and liar. They have to because we can't insult, call a spade a spade.
What are they afraid of being sued?
Yeah.
In this case, that was Fox News. They would never.
Right. I get it. But there are other news outlets who are constitutionally incapable of saying lie and liar, calling you out, New York Times, among others.
And let's remember it, like as you alluded to, Fox News Channel is about $850 million lighter in the wallet,
right, so
because of their spreading election news.
With one more case to go.
Okay, yeah.
One more case to go.
It hasn't stopped them.
Right. Well, I mean, you can apologize and write a check later. Lies get viewers, viewers get ad dollars, ad dollars get Rupert Murdoch a new yacht. And that's what we're all really here for.
Yes.
Next, let's queer up education. Southern California School District rejects curriculum over 3 paragraphs mentioning Harvey Milk. A Southern California School District Board is the latest proxy for culture wars brewing across the country after a conservative bloc voted to formally reject state-endorsed curriculum mentioning gay rights figure Harvey Milk. A heated Temecula Valley Unified School District Board meeting devolved into shouts and jeers as parents, teachers, and community members confronted one another over a 3-paragraph mention of milk in supplemental materials for students in grade 1 through 5. The controversy first erupted in May when conservative school board members rejected the mention of milk. Temecula School Board President Joseph Komrosky, who has called milk a pedophile, said he instructed the district to reject any materials shipped from the state. California law requires public school districts to have enough textbooks for each student, and that social studies curricula provides information on the roles that Americans from diverse backgrounds have in shaping history. The school board has not approved replacement learning materials after rejecting state-endorsed curricula. Turning school boards into surrogates for broader culture war battles is part of a familiar playbook deployed by conservative groups which focus on filling school boards with ideologically aligned members, a strategy that clocked dozens of wins last fall.
It just clarifies that he was responsible for some of the movement in California with gay rights.
Yeah, my question is why even mention a pedophile?
He's not a pedophile.
I beg to differ. Why even mention that? What has that got to do with our curriculum in schools? Why? That's a form of activism.
So I'm not
going.
It absolutely is not.
Harvey Milk was the first openly gay man elected to public office in California. Milk is one of the historic figures in a social studies curriculum rejected by the Temecula Valley Unified School Board. The teachers union is now pushing for more parent input and continues to back that curriculum.
And a story that's being repeated so many places across the country, and we wouldn't expect to find it in California, especially Southern California. Temecula is a little different. They are a very red dot in this blue state. And Bobby, you've got an update on this.
Yes, actually, according to CBS News, I'm just going to credit the source here. Governor Newsom has announced that the state would be fining the school district, and apparently they will be sending textbooks to the school district and fine the transportation cost against the district. So the district has to pay up for the transportation of the books.
Good, as well they should, but that's only hurting the kids and the families. I mean,
$1.5 million.
Someone has to pay for those, and it's going to be the families.
Right. Well, and as you said, this is an important reminder that not all of California, the state that set old Mother Reagan on his political path, is as liberal and progressive as its governor, as its current governor Newsom.
Well,
there are red pockets.
Oh, also bear in mind that every state has pockets like that, but this is not a new playbook, though. This has been going on for decades. Pat Robertson tried it when he tried to ban teaching evolution. He bussed in a bunch of into a rural Pennsylvania district, you will recall, to basically overwhelm the school board, vote, you know. Then they created this whole like anti-evolution, pro whatever they call it.
Creationism.
Yeah, thank you. School boards that try to rip evolution out of biology textbooks. Hell, right now this is repeated ad nauseum in Florida, in this very state. We have these so-called moms for liberty of white people. That takes over the school boards and
makes a lot of
noise and banning books left and right. I mean, this is happening here in Florida right now.
Yeah.
All right, Bobby, take us to church.
All right, then. Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from a permanent set here at the Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral's Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m.
Well, we finished tonight's news and queer news lines with a segment we call LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. Let's queer up health. Colorado Children's Hospital to stop gender-affirming surgeries on adults.
Hospitals care for victims of violence, but some care they provide can lead to threats of it. Children's Hospital Colorado says gender-affirming care has led to threats at other children's hospitals nationwide. Now, it will no longer provide gender-affirming surgery.
I'm starting to become a little bit nervous that perhaps it's not as safe as I thought.
Ruby Lopez moved to Colorado because she felt safe transitioning here. Now, she worries other young people won't find the same support.
A Colorado Children's Hospital has stopped offering transition-related operations for transgender patients 18 and older. Hospital spokesperson Rachel Fowler said, Children's Hospital Colorado never provided such surgery for minors. Fowler added that the hospital is working with patients to refer them to other facilities that still provide such procedures. Children's Hospital Colorado, through its True Center for Gender Diversity, will continue to provide non-surgical gender-affirming care for both minors and patients who have recently turned 18. Their website says care includes hormone therapy, gender counseling, and nutrition services.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. Let's queer up the worldview. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak apologizes for previous ban on LGBTQ plus military members.
The ban on LGBT people serving in our military until the year 2000 was an appalling failure of the British state, decades behind the law of this land. As today's report makes clear, in that period many endured the most horrific sexual abuse and violence, homophobic bullying and harassment, all while bravely serving this country. Today, on behalf of the British state, I apologise.
UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak apologized Wednesday for the treatment of gay veterans, saying a previous ban on LGBTQ plus people serving in the UK military was an appalling failure of the British state. The apology comes after an independent review published Wednesday estimated that hundreds, if not thousands, of veterans were dismissed or suffered under an official ban on homosexuality in the UK armed forces that was enforced until 2000. Sunak told Parliament, quote, "On behalf of the British state, I apologize," end quote. The report was carried out by retired senior judge Terence Atherton, who compiled evidence from more than 1,100 veterans. It documented the effects of an incomprehensible policy of homophobic bigotry in the UK armed forces, mentioning how some of the victims took their own lives while others attempted suicide.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. Let's queer up hotspots. In hotspots, the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau celebrate Miami Spa Month. The Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau is celebrating rest and relaxation with the return of Miami Spa Month. Through August 31st, locals and visitors can indulge in luxurious and rejuvenating spa treatments with pricing options for all budgets. People can experience revitalizing massages, aromatherapy, calming facials, and more. You can also select from Steel Spa at SLS Brickell, Calma Spa, and Aqueduct Spa. The 2-month-long program caters to individuals seeking a break from the hustle of daily life, couples looking to treat themselves to a memorial spa day, and families embarking on a wellness journey. Find out more in the new issue of Hotspots on stands today.
LGBTQ plus news, 1 Minute News. Let's queer up the worldview. Lead singer of rock band Placebo under investigation for calling Italian Prime Minister fascist. Placebo singer-guitarist Brian Malco is ruffling political feathers in Italy after lashing out against the country's right-wing Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, calling her a fascist and a racist during a packed concert near Turin, Italy. Prosecutors in Turin have now opened an investigation against the US-born frontman of the British alt-rock band. Mokel's insults at Italy's prime minister from the stage also included calling Meloni a piece of shit. Meloni leads the Brothers of Italy party, which has neo-fascist roots and heads Italy's most right-wing coalition government since World War II. She scored a victory last September while running on an anti-immigration policy and plans to limit LGBTQ+ rights.
LGBTQ+ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up entertainment. Prism Comics celebrates 36th annual Out in Comics LGBTQ+ panel at San Diego Comic-Con. Prism Comics announced their San Diego Comic-Con plans ahead of the convention's start date. The nonprofit LGBTQ publisher will host signings at booth number 2414, including talents like P. Craig Russell, Brandon T. Snyder, Tim Sheridan, and Nicole Maines. Prism is also bringing 4 panels to the convention, which fans will be able to attend, including the 36th consecutive year of Out in Comics, hosted by writer Andy Mangels. Prism also publishes Prism Comics' LGBTQ+ Guide to Comic-Con 2023, spotlighting panels, people, and events of LGBTQ+ interest at Comic-Con. That is today's news for the LGBTQ+ community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ+ evening news show.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Are you, like most of America, part of our very large television audience watching this live LGBTQ+ news broadcast right now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV?
This is the only live LGBTQ+ digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ+ stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm John Hayden. And on behalf of these LGBTQ+ reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Dr. Bob Hentschel, Dr. Bobby Huen, and Dr. Gregg Shapiro. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. And to our LGBTQ+ world, we wish you a very good night.
Good night.
We are Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only live daily LGBTQ+ evening news show, brought to you from Happening Out Television Network. We operate in the same model of PBS and NPR, but for the LGBTQ+ community. We educate, inform, and entertain by supporting the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ+ community, with more than 100,000 a week watching us on Roku, Apple Television, and other channels. To keep the story going, we accept donations with 100% transparency. Stay updated and live authentically with Queer News Tonight.